Smita Gupta, one of India's foremost political journalists. She has worked with the Times of India, the Indian Express, the Hindu newspaper, and has covered the Congress party, the BJP, over the last several decades. And today we are talking about the week in the run-up to the massive inaugural of the Ram Mandir at the Ram Janmabhoomi in Ayodhya, as well as Congress leader Rahul Gandhi's Nyay Yatra, which has begun from Manipur. It began on Sunday. I'm Jyoti Malhotra from Awaaz South Asia. Smita, thank you so much for joining me on this discussion. So Smita, just if you can paint the big picture for our viewers across the region. There is the big Ram Mandir inaugural, and then there is Rahul Gandhi. What's going on? How do you look at these two events?
I think both these events are really linked to the elections that are coming up in a few months. These are the general elections, and we should have a new government sometime in May, and by end of May, early June. Depending on the dates of the elections, etc. And both events are actually geared towards these elections,
including the Ram Mandir inaugural. Would you say that that's also geared for the elections?
Absolutely. Look at the timing, and we've already seen that the four Shankaracharyas have all boycotted it, saying that the temple is not complete for consecration, because that's what they're saying, that this is going to be the consecration of the temple when life is sort of imbued into the deity.
Right.
But the four religious heads, Hindu religious heads in this country, think that it is not ready for consecration. So why are you doing it in such a hurry? Why have you invited, diplomats and, why are you making it such a big event? I'm told that in the US, in several of the cities, there are billboards declaring it. So it's all geared towards the elections. That is very, very clear.
Okay.
And it's not simply the event that is going to take place in Ayodhya, which will, of course, be given, wall-to-wall coverage, not just on television channels, but also on social media. But for the last month or so, we have been seeing across the country social media being used to tell people that, look, if you can't get to Ayodhya, don't worry, you just go to your local temple. So, it's being presented as a collective event, which is going to, in which every Indian can participate, no matter where he or she lives. We've been hearing in Delhi about where several housing colonies where they are organizing events connected with the Ram Temple all on that one day. So it's clearly an election-related issue. I personally would not have thought that it would have resonance after so many years of the,
that's right.
That's what one had thought.
The masjid, the Babri. Yes, sorry to interrupt you. The Babri Masjid was demolished as long back as 1992. That's what, 31 years ago, 32 years ago now, or 31 years ago, because it was in December of 1992. And you have seen the Babri Masjid when it was extant. You have seen the demolition. You've covered the politics of these past several decades. So now the question that I also have for you, Smita, is why didn't the Congress leadership accept the invite of the Prime Minister of the BJP to attend this large inauguration, or the big inaugural in Ayodhya?
See, I think personally that I agree with what the Congress is doing, regardless of what its impact on its electoral fortunes will be. Because I think there is a time to draw the line. I mean, what differentiates the Congress from the BJP? It's ideology. It is not that you or I have anything personally against the idea of Ram. Ram is an ideal kind of figure or whatever. Some people might, the ideal ruler, though, his relationship, his attitude to women, it has been questioned by many people. But leave that aside. As an ideal ruler, nobody has a problem. We have so many mythological figures who are beloved of the people. But to use it to target another community, to target other not one, but many communities, you know, to use it to divide people. I think that I mean, it is time that the Congress stopped playing the soft saffron Hindu game, and I'm very pleased to see that they have actually come out this time and said that they don't wish to accept the invitation, because it's time to explain why. It's not that people are against Hinduism. I mean, uh, but we are against Hindutva, which is a political construct which has got nothing to do with the religion at all. I
But
mean,
is the Congress
Hinduism,
able to explain why?
that is really the key question, Jyoti, because they've had a head start of, so many, as we were discussing earlier, so many decades. They should have been on the job a long time ago. But I think the problem was, I think if I can just go back a little
Sure,
bit,
sure.
the Congress party basically it has been a big umbrella party. It's a big tent party
Right.
which accommodated views across the ideological spectrum,
Hmm.
and it was able to accommodate soft Hindutva, hard Hindutva, secularism, atheism, the works.
Hmm.
It's after it lost power, after it started beginning to lose power, that its hold has shrunk.
Hmm.
And that is something that congressmen haven't begun to realize. For instance, in the early 90s, when Mandal became a big issue, even the BJP was smart enough to get onto the Mandal bandwagon. In the early 90s, there was Govindacharya, he talked about social engineering, and it started.
Hmm.
In the first decade, they didn't have much success,
Okay.
even the BJP. But now they do.
Hmm.
So they have been working on it. The Congress said, no, no, we don't believe in caste, we don't believe in this. They didn't realize that they were just being, the party was getting eroded,
Hmm.
you know. In
And
a
becoming
similar
irrelevant.
fashion, I think they thought they would be able to carry the pro-Hindutva, the anti-Hindutva people, along.
Hmm.
Because, we belong to everybody and everybody loves us. And there
Right.
was also this attitude that occasionally people forget and they vote for some other party, but basically we are the party of governance. There is a certain arrogance in the Congress party, which,
Right.
we need to acknowledge. We have seen in the last so many decades, you know, uh, congressmen talking about, mm, you know, uh, the need to, keep everybody happy. Let's not,
Right.
but the point is that when you do that, when you sort of display, say, Rahul Gandhi as a Brahmin who
Uh-huh.
wears a sacred thread, you are still only the B party. You're
So
not
you're
the
all
A party.
you're all things to everybody, but actually you're nothing to no one. Is that
Absolutely. You're nothing to nobody.
so?
So
What is
I'm
Rahul
glad that they
Gandhi?
have.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
So, so I said I'm just glad that they have decided to make this a kind of breaking point, and I hope they continue with this and then don't come back to it again.
Okay, but tell me, what is Rahul Gandhi doing on this Nyay Yatra? You said that the messaging of the Congress party on Ayodhya and perhaps on other issues has been a big problem. But is he trying to send the message, or what is the message of the Nyay Yatra, and what is the Congress message on Ayodhya? I mean, explain, because nobody really knows. I certainly don't understand.
See, this is the second yatra in less than a year.
Right.
The first one was from south to north, and
Yeah.
this will be from the northeast to the west, Manipur to Maharashtra.
Uh-huh.
Uh, and basically, the messages will be the same as that of the first yatra, which was about Bharat Jodo,
Hmm.
which they want to juxtapose against, the sentiments that are being, displayed by the BJP right now and right through, which is divide and rule.
Hmm.
You know that
Who is dividing and ruling?
the BJP is
Okay.
dividing and ruling. So the BJP has been targeting the minorities, uh, So the Congress wants to tell people that, listen, the BJP has been trying to isolate certain communities, certain sections of the population, and we don't believe in this. We believe in a united India.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, Bharat Jodo Nyay Yatra. Now
Okay.
that is his message. Now, if you look at the first yatra that he conducted, it was reasonably successful. It was perhaps very successful in Kashmir, particularly, I feel,
Mm-hmm.
because that was a place where people had refused to come onto the streets for, I think, months. And then when Rahul Gandhi went, he actually gave them the courage to come onto the streets. So I think that was a great success.
Okay.
As far as the rest of the yatra, I'm not surprised that he got a good reception because if you give me a minute to
Sure,
explain
sure.
what I mean.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I had covered the Chandrasekhar Padyatra in 1983.
Mm-hmm.
And I walked for 3 days with Chandrasekhar. And the response was just stupendous. Absolutely stupendous. There were even women coming out in small towns and giving their gold jewelry as though there was a war going to take place or something.
Yeah.
So moved were people by the idea of a politician not taking a helicopter, not taking a plane, not taking a car, but actually walking 4,000 kilometers to come to their homes.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Rahul Gandhi also benefited from that same sentiment. Now, what went wrong in Chandrasekhar's Padyatra is the timing. He,
Mm-hmm.
he finished about 8, 9 months, I think, before Mrs. Gandhi was assassinated. And then the
Right.
whole story of India changed. And, Mrs. That's another story. I mean,
Yeah.
Chandrasekhar went on to become prime minister, but under very different circumstances.
Right.
So when Rahul undertook the first part of the yatra, I mean, I had that in my mind, and I said that, he should try and time it with an election.
Right.
Because if he is to get any success out of it, it has to be.
Yeah.
Now, in the first part of the yatra, the only success we actually saw was in Karnataka, which
Right.
was, and how much some people have done some studies and said that the areas that he walked through there, they won all the seats. I'm not very sure about that,
Okay.
but perhaps we can give Rahul Gandhi some credit for the victory in Karnataka.
Mm-hmm.
Now this one is to end in Maharashtra, which is actually a very good state for the Congress party, but where the India alliance partners only have six members of parliament right now.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a state on which, I mean, the BJP, of course, is focusing on everything. But this is a one major state that they are focusing on. Uh, I mean, partly because of the prestige of Maharashtra, the prestige of Bombay, the commercial, the commerce, the
The lifeline, the
money,
commercial lifeline. Yeah.
Right. So I'm just, wondering whether they have this in their mind and whether this will have an impact in Maharashtra because it's going to end, I think, middle of March 20th, 21st in Maharashtra. So it should have an impact in Maharashtra, I feel. If it does that, that will be huge. And the rest, in any case, we are already in election mode.
Yeah.
So the areas through which they are going to go through, the 15 states, so maybe the heartland states, if it has some impact, I
But
don't know. And if you
what do
take
you
that along with the fact that the Congress has been realistic in saying that we are going to focus on 225
it's
seats,
out
we are
of
not going to, yeah.
But then
Sorry.
two questions from that, Smita. The first is that if the Congress wants 225 or wants to focus on 225 out of 543 seats in the Lok Sabha, presumably you would, derive from that the fact that the rest of the alliance partners in the India coalition would then divide the seats up by themselves. But we've just had an India coalition meeting and three of the largest parties didn't attend. I mean, Mamata Banerjee's Trinamool didn't attend. The Samajwadi Party didn't attend. So what is this coalition really about? And that too 3 months before the elections.
Well, people like Mamata Banerjee are very difficult, and I would write them off right now because we have seen in the past also when it comes to settling the matter of division of seats, there is people always raise the stakes because everybody wants a larger share.
Of course.
So I am hoping that this is simply that kind of play.
Mm-hmm.
And the second thing I want to stress is that I hope they don't get into the leadership issue at this stage, because then the whole thing will collapse.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Okay.
I think they should leave it till the results come out. In the unlikely, and I say it advisedly, unlikely case of the India alliance actually,
Coming to power.
winning more seats, yeah, coming to power, then I'm sure they will be able to sort out that leadership issue. And it's best left to that point, because at that point, I mean, the most logical thing will be that whichever is the largest party,
But
gets the.
it seems that Rahul Gandhi, I mean, you made a really interesting point, which is that in the run up to the election, he's traveling across the width of the country, or the breadth of the country at least, and hopefully sort of retelling the message of the Congress party, which is this diverse, inclusive type of message. But it also seems as if, he is this young, I mean, not so young man anymore, who is on this personal rediscovery of India. ठीक है, चलो चल रहे हैं, पद यात्रा कर रहे हैं. But it doesn't really mean very much. I mean, Milind Deora quit the party on the day Rahul starts his yatra in Manipur. I mean, what kind of message is that? Is that one of your
His
closest?
best friend.
Yeah, one of your big buddies.
Almost his best friend.
Fine, they may have fallen out. We don't know. We're not interested in their friendships anyway. But what is this message? I mean, people think that Congress is just like, theek hai, raat gayi, baat gayi. It was yesterday's party and it's not important to the country anymore.
Well, the tragic thing is that even people who are not so pro-Hindutva really dislike the Gandhis.
Huh. What is that?
I mean,
Huh.
I think these are very privileged, entitled people who think that, just because Motilal Nehru sort of, funded part of the freedom movement, Jawaharlal Nehru was the first prime minister, that these people think that they automatically, want to rule, divine right. They have a kind of divine right. Or this is how people portray it. So
So
that's number one.
doesn't the Congress understand that? Doesn't Sonia Gandhi understand this? That the people are really fed up of this sort of this hierarchical thing in the Congress party. Why doesn't she change it?
I don't know. I think they don't have the nerve to change it, because even today, you would imagine that they would be able to say, okay, Rahul Gandhi is fine, he's a nice chap, and he goes on these wonderful yatras and people love him and they hug him and all that. But let him be one of the leaders.
Mm-hmm.
They just don't have the courage to do it. They don't have anybody else. If I can just go back to 2009,
Yeah.
The 2009 election, at that time, it was proposed that the Congress needed to actually demonstrate that there was going to be a generational change.
Mm-hmm.
And to emphasize that generational change, they had thought of a poster.
Uh-huh.
That poster would have had Rahul Gandhi right in the middle, but he would have been flanked not by, if you remember, there was that poster with the Youth Congress, unknown faces of the Youth Congress. There was this big poster at that time.
I remember that, yeah. There's some 13, 14 people.
And there was a young girl called Hansa, somebody who became quite famous because she was on that poster or something.
Yeah.
But they were basically unknown faces. The only known face was Rahul Gandhi. But the original plan was that he was to be flanked by the likes of Milind Deora and Sachin Pilot and Jyotiraditya Scindia, Sandeep Dixit, and, all the young people Meenakshi, what was
That's
her,
right.
from Madhya Pradesh, all these people. So, and they were supposed to have this poster, plastered all over the country to say, look, our party is changing and this is the new face.
Mhm.
Where Rahul, even though the central figure, would have been part of a range of faces,
Right.
you know. And then at the last minute, somebody said, no, 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 don't do this. You might get outshone. So, I mean, that's a story. I
Mm.
mean, and at that time, they were genuinely young in 2009, you know. And now, I mean, where are you going to find these young people? I
So
mean, you
who's
have a
going to take?
disgruntled.
So who's taking the Congress seriously? The BJP certainly isn't. I don't think they really care that
Yeah.
much. So the
I mean,
BJP isn't
jokes
taking the
apart.
Congress seriously.
uh,
So
But
now,
okay, I mean, let's think hard. Even in these last round of assembly elections, the Congress is not wiped out.
Mhm.
In terms of vote percentage, it does exist. So it is for the
Just that the
Congress to
BJP,
say,
just that the
okay,
BJP
we
does
have
better.
about
Yeah, the BJP does
BJP
better.
does better.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, but it's not like they're 2 or 3%.
right.
They're like some 40% of the
That's,
vote.
yes,
So, I mean, if I was in the Congress, I'd say, okay, all is not lost. We have 40%. How do we build on this?
right.
To some extent, I think the Kharge experiment has not been bad
But it hasn't
because,
really worked either.
but he doesn't have, I mean, he at best is like somebody who can hold things together,
Mm.
maybe prevent sort of fights breaking out, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I don't know. And then I think in between, one heard that he was going to be projected as prime minister, and they thought this was brilliant because, he's a Dalit and, nobody can oppose that. But I don't think it's going to work like that.
Do you think so?
You see,
Is
Modi
he being
fills up
named?
too much.
Go ahead,
Modi
Modi.
fills up too much of the space.
Mhm.
Whether they are in terms of posters, whether they are masks. I mean, it's actually brilliant. The Modi masks that came in,
Mm.
it's like as a citizen, as an ordinary voter, you look around and all you see is Modi.
Mm.
Your mind space is filled with Modi. Even if you forget whether you like him, dislike him, whether you believe in Hindutva or not. It's like you don't have a choice because there's no one else standing there. Modi standing on your left, on your right, in front of you. And now, if you go, wherever you go on the trains, he's persuaded all the some of the airline carriers to, they have, statements made about Ayodhya or about, some wonderful thing that Mr. Narendra Modi has done. So you have to think like them. The only thing that I think they should maybe, which without losing Rahul Gandhi, they have to focus on the social media part of it. And I think that was one of the reasons for the huge success in Karnataka. The BJP spent more on
Uh,
the entire election than the Congress, but it was the Congress that spent more on social media
So,
than the BJP.
so last couple of questions, Smita, on the as we move towards the January 22nd inaugural. You did say earlier on this discussion that you believe that the Congress Party did the right thing by not going to the inaugural function, although whatever it's sort of confusion over the Ram Mandir issue in the past 40 years. But today, in the week before the inaugural, you're also saying that we don't know what the Congress Party's message is. So how do you look at this inaugural in the in the larger scheme of things? I mean, you've seen the Ayodhya issue develop over these last several decades.
No, you see, you have to understand that when I say that I'm glad that they're not going there because it's two things that they're saying. One is that, we think this is a bogus event. But if you had gone, you are also, in a way, upholding the destruction of the Babri Masjid
Mhm. Okay.
because this temple is being built on, where the Babri Masjid
The
stood.
Supreme Court has now, but the Supreme Court verdict, 2019 verdict, was welcomed by everybody, including the Congress Party. So when the Supreme Court agrees to this mediation between all the parties and basically says that, yes, you have to hand over the Janmabhoomi to the Hindu side, then the Congress party was in agreement with that.
Yeah, because I think they shouldn't have been in agreement with it. As far as everybody kind of accepting it, it's like a law and order issue. It's like somebody is coming up to burn down your house or something. So somebody comes and says that, Jyoti, listen, the best thing is that you and your family leave the house. And
No,
yes,
this
you
is
would rather save your family members than be inside the burning house.
that's all right, but this is
So,
a different issue.
that's not a choice. That's not a real choice.
But isn't the Ram
It's
Mandir issue?
time for the Congress party to stand up and, stand up and say that they stand for something,
What
You
is it
can't
that
be
they
this,
stand
you
for?
can't
What do
be
they
a little
stand
bit
for?
of this, a little bit of that.
Right.
And it was a heinous crime. It was a heinous crime, the destruction of the mosque. Yes, after it is destroyed, then you say, Acha, we can't give it to you. So then, we give this much here, we give this much there. उनको मंदिर बनाने दो, उसमें क्या है, और एक मस्जिद बना लेना, हम और भी जमीन दे देंगे आपको, it's,
So why do you
there
think
has
they
to be
agreed?
justice. It's not just about law and order. It's also about justice. And that is what, what people want. When, say, a Muslim gangster is, apprehended and jailed, you think Muslims mind? Muslims don't mind. But Muslims want the Hindu gangsters also to be apprehended and put behind bars.
So why did
People
then
want
the Congress
justice.
party, then why did the Congress party agree to the Supreme Court verdict in 2019 if it believed so strongly that the destruction of the masjid was wrong?
It's because we know, as we discussed, the Congress has been, is composed of people of all persuasions,
Right.
even today.
So who was the leader, who was leading that thought in 2019 that we should accept the verdict?
There were people like Janardhan Dwivedi and all. They were certainly, in fact, there was, I can't remember offhand, but the original statement had to be tweaked later. The acceptance was more wholehearted in the original statement, and then somebody pointed out, and then it was tweaked to mean neither this nor that. So what I'm saying is, this is a party composed of a whole people of all persuasions.
Right.
And then people say, chalo, what is the good of it? We need Hindu votes in the end. You see? But
So
you have to teach Hindus that, listen, this is not, this is a modern country. This is, and law and.
And no, so in this modern country today that the BJP is winning again and again and again, and it seems like it's going to win again because the Congress party doesn't really have any message. So the Rahul Gandhi Nyay Yatra, on the one hand, and on the other hand, you have the BJP, which seems invincible, is inaugurating this huge Ram Mandir, which millions of Hindus are in favor of, seemingly. What's your last thought as we wrap up this discussion?
I'm very depressed. That's all I can say. And I just hope that this yatra makes some impact. That Rahul Gandhi keeps in mind that this is election time, and he uses these, this yatra which has already started. It's what, it'll be 2 months roughly.
Right.
Uses the next 2 months fruitfully, to get his message across,
Well, we hope that Rahul
And
Gandhi is listening, or at least somebody in the Congress party is listening, because, I think people are waiting and watching to hear what kind of message the Congress party wants to give the country. They haven't heard very much so far. But on this note, Smita, thank you so much for joining me on Awaaz South Asia, and thank you so much for your time.
Welcome. Nice talking to you, Jyoti.